Well, it's late for me, and we're looking here at the Sefer Zohar and Parshat Pinchas. Remember that we're talking about Rosh Hashanah. So this is a place in the Zohar where Rosh Hashanah is brought out. Let's see a little bit of this. What I thought I would do here is, it's a short piece. So I'm going to read just the Zohar itself, see if we could translate it, and then come back and look at the Matak B'Devash. It's a biyom of the Rosh Hashanah, the day of Rosh Hashanah, Maskinin Bei Dina Kursia, that the Beis Din prepares a throne or seat of honor, the Malka for the king, the maiden Kol Alm of the judge, all the world, meaning all the umas of the world, all the plants, animals, everything. V'Yisrael Olam B'Kad Misa, but the Jewish people enter into the Beis Din first. B'Dina Kameh, as that is to be judged before the king. The Leifish Rachame, and they do this in order to seek mercy. Tanan. So we learn like this. Mishpat Amo Yisrael Dal V'Yom V'Yomo. So he says that the judgment of the Jewish people will be that thing, that judgment, Yom V'Yomo, on the day of its day. Something like that. Yom, on its day, in its day. Yom B'Yomo Maihu. So what is the meaning of the phrase Yom B'Yomo? So he comes and he says like this. Elohane Trey Yomim de Rosh Hashanah. That's what it means. Yom B'Yomo. It means like a day within a day. He says it means 2 days. Shnei Yomim, Trey Yomim, the Rosh Hashanah, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Amai Trey Yomim. So why do we need 2 days? Begin the Elul betray Beidina the Mischab and Kachada, because these are 2 houses of judgment, meaning in other words courts, joined together into one. Dina Elul the Ihu Kasha, there is an upper din. That din is very strict. But Dina Tito, there's also a lower din, the Ihu Rafia, which is weaker. The Tavaichul Mishtatke, and both of them are happening, I guess, in those 2 days. Here we go like this, and it says Va'aldo, and this is really, the bottom line of this Zohar. V'Ravado lo yudoi chani babloi raza the yuvova v'yololta. He said, because in regards to this, these 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, the people, that is the rabbis from Bavel, from Babylonia, they didn't really know the raza the yuvova v'yololta. These are 2 of the sounds of the shofar. One is a wailing sound, the other is a broken sound. Below you died that the Vaichel is really not known that both of them are needed. They don't really know. They don't know that there's 2 different things. What they do know, Yalalusa, so this wailing sound, the Ihu Dinik, the Kifa, is a very powerful din. Plus Tivirin, the Ihu Dinik Rafia, then the 3 sounds of the broken sounds are a weaker din. Ganuchi Ganach Rafia. It's like sighing in a weak way. Inun lo yudoi v'avdin to the vayhu, and these are not known. They're not known, but they don't know them. But since they don't know them, and they know that they're important, they've avdin to the vayhu. They do both other days in other words, they do 2 days. But we know pshat. We know that one is a din that is very strong, the other one is weaker. And this is the secret of the sound which is called the Yavava and the sound which is called the Yalola. The Devaichel Itztrichel, that both of them are necessary. Hani Babloi Inun, these Babloi Lo Yadai, the Avdin to Devaichel. They don't know really what's the difference between the 2 of them, but they know they exist, and so therefore they do them. V'kula Nafkim L'Orach Kashut. But in any case, they're both doing the same thing as bringing him into the path, the true path. So let's come over here. Let's read a little bit of the light print. And as much as we can of the light print. Here, where does it start? Okay. Ba'amar ki, then he goes through the Rosh Hashanah, the Kippur B'Bidei Dinah. Let me see what it is. B'yomim shal Rosh Hashanah. B'chidem a Beis Din, that the Beis Din prepares. A kisei, a throne. Bishvil melech mishpat, for the king of judgment. The dun is called ha'olim barachmem, to judge the whole world in mercy. V'yisrael ha'olim bekademisa bedina, and the Jewish people go first. They're the first group to go before the king. V'yisrael niknasim techila the din lifnei almost before any other nations of the world. Kamei the leifush rugza, the fish yisrabech harogez, lifnei she yisrabech harogez, before the real anger of the judge gets going. Harogez v'akas, the fury of his anger. So in other words, we want to get there before the ummahs can before him, who are so hypocritical and so greedy. So he says, "Va'ayin ba'agaz of the marchul." There's this little piece right here. That there are two good ways of reading this. One is the kavana is to come before Kodesh Baruch Hu. To bring out, to begin with, mercy. When they see the Jewish people who are trying, as a people, to really achieve closeness to his ways. Number base is Hu B'Shvil Yisrael Atzman, but it's only for this. Another way of looking at it is for the Jews themselves. That should come first. Lifnei Sheyis Rabach Rogez, before this real tremendous anger is going to come up from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because of the really bad deeds of the Gentiles. So let's see what this says. So he says, Kosev Arizal. So the Arizal writes like this in Shara Kavanos, Rosh Hashanah. Zel Hashanah, and I quote, Nodaki Leah omedes lamala mekesed the Rachel. Now Leah and Rachel are the female aspect of Zer Anpin, and they're on his backside. Leah is from approximately the neck, which is the das, let's say for the neck, downwards to the chest, and from the chest and down below to the feet is Zer Anpin, we find Rachel. He says like this, Noida ki Leah omedes lamala mekesed Rachel. She's standing above the kesser of Rachel, the top of the head of Rachel. Then he says, Lapamim akabayim de Leah, sometimes the feet of Leah, mislavshim bekesser shall Rachel, wind up being clothed inside of the head of Rachel. So it says like this, Nimsa ki parts of the Leah, so it comes out like this, that the parts of the Leah, kulo v'gam kesser the Rachel, the all parts of Leah. This is from, again, the back of it's really the neck down to the chest, and also that aspect of the kesser of Rachel, which has been infiltrated by the feet of Leah. The Rachel, the Nasrach b'yom rishon, the Rosh Hashanah, they are removed. This is all the process of the mating that should have taken place on the seventh day, which was a Shabbos, but was unfortunately began on the sixth day, which is Chol, which is just a weekday. As a result of that, all of the whole process has to take place, which is the process of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then Sukkot, and then finally Shmini Atzeret. So let's see, that's the whole thing. So he said, the Rosh Hashanah, V'gam the Sivazu, and also for this reason, Nikra Yom Dinikash, it's called the day of severe din. Because we know that Leah she's in the place of she's in an area that gets very little light from the Ein Sof, which would shine through Zer Anpin to her. It's a dark area. So the Rachel Dina Rafi, but Rachel is in an area below the Chaz Zer Anpin, so a complicated story. But she is what we call in the Gilui. She gets the light exposed inside of Zer Anpin, through his body comes to her. So the Radina Rafi V'hiba B'chidas Yom Sheni, the Rosh Hashanah Ad Kan, and that's the idea of the second day. And now you'll be able to understand what he's saying. So the Zohar began like this. Lamado ki al masha kased la'asos mishpat avdo. So there's a pasuk that says to do the judgment of his I guess means the judge, his servant. He says, Yesh l'shol, there is, you could ask on this. There is a question about, the pasuk says, Yom b'yomu ma'hu. What does that mean? Ma'hu ha'inyan shel Elul shnei yomim. Why are we talking about a yom, a day in a day? So he said, V'heshiv, and he answers, Ela Elohim shnei yomim shel Rosh Hashanah. Once again, this is the idea of the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. V'lama heim shnei yomim, and why do we have 2 days? Because there's 2 separate courts that join together. Behind Leah, that is, going back to talking about Leah and Rachel, that join together. They come together, as we said before, that the feet of Leah are inside of the skull of Rachel. So this concept is the concept of the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. What? Yom Rishon Keneged Leah Dinikasha. The first day has to do with Leah. Leah is a strict din. He said, Yom Beis Keneged Rachel Dinarafia. It corresponds to Rachel, who is a much weaker din. Meforish, and explains like this. Beis din, the Beis din ha'elyon shehu kosher, hainu hadin shel Leah mischaver, it joins together, bedin hatachton shehu rafa, within, as she comes into the head, so to speak, of Rachel, she becomes weaker. That is, that din gets watered down, hainu bedin shel Rachel, because Rachel has a much weaker din. V'shnechem nimsaim b'Rosh Hashanah, and both of these different inyanim, that is, Rachel, who is the weaker din, and Leah, who's a much stronger din, are both found during Rosh Hashanah. U'gnegdam hu Rosh Hashanah shnei yomim, and therefore that is the reason that we have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Now, of course, he gives other reasons, but this is a reason. So since the people in Babylonia, this is a statement, I don't know where it's coming from, but this is Rebbe Shimon talking. I'm thinking at the time of Rebbe Shimon, while the greatest lights of all were in Eretz Yisrael, but many of the Jewish people were now in a foreign land, in Babylonia, east. So he said, they don't know that there's 2 different types of dinim. And as a result of that, they don't know the reason or the secret behind the reason of 2 different sounds, which are, one is the shvarim and the one is the teruah. And they don't know that according to the truth, that you need them both. Because they require to the building of Leah and Rachel. Behind the Yalalusa, the Ihudinik Takifa, the sound which is called a Yalolo. This sound is a wailing sound, which refers to a very powerful din. Hatiruah shehi din chazak v'kasha, he keneged Leah. This is really corresponds to Leah. Tlas tevirin deinu din rafi, but the 3 broken sounds. Those sounds are really like a weaker din. Hashlosh shavarim shehem din rafa hem keneged Rachel. But then a rafa nirmaz b'shavarim, and then that is the din of Rachel is called shavarim. He doima kamisha nogeach is like a person who sighs, melibo from his heart, but in a weaker way. He says, and then he says, let's find it over here. B'nei Bavel inun yoda, the people of Babylonia, the rabbis there, eza mishnechem tzarichem. They don't know whether you need, they're mesupa, they're in doubt whether you need a yavala or you need shavarim. Which one is it? So since they're in doubt, va'avdin to the vayhus, they do both of them. V'chein heim osim shneichem b'safek. So since there's a doubt about which one is the one that you really want to blow, so therefore there's a doubt about it, and so therefore that's where they stand. And they do both. But we know that they actually refer to two different aspects of a relationship, of their relationship. That but the relationship is one is strong, one is weak in terms of din. Everything is going down the path of truth. So both of them are done according to what is needed in truth. So that's this little Zohar today on Rosh Hashanah. And I hope that this understanding can be helpful to somebody out there. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kola.